Folks, shout out. Creative Financial with JB. Back another Tuesday, making it happen. Great things happening, great things going on right here. I'm just excited. Beginning of a new year. We starting on out on the right level. We doing some things a little bit different this year. We're just expanding. We're growing. But guess what? This week it's just going to be all about a tribute. And I'm going to take this time of my show to tribute my Aunt Jackie. I'm so thankful for this woman that she have did so much, been a mentor to so many people. Folks, I'm up in New York right now, sharing some time with the family and everything, just to honor her respects and to give a shout out to what she have done, her accomplishment. And folks, we have to cherish family. We have to understand that every family member plays a part in our lives, and we have to understand what part they play. And seeing that is so instrumental that we share this time and we share this moment. We just think back on some of her legacies of what she have did, what she have done. We're gonna miss her. We laid her to rest today, and just in a moment of respect, I just want to share some accomplishments about my Miss Aunt Jackie Award of what we have done. And the matriarch right now of our family that she have laid to sleep, worked for the Urban League for over 30 years, folks. And today in today's industry, we don't even hold jobs for 10 months sometimes, let alone 2 years, 10 years, but 30 years, and continued to pass on the legacy down the line to many folks throughout the community, worldwide, and what she did. What did this mean to all of us today? This means that we close the book on another chapter. We are so thankful for that chapter. For it, we're not going through grieving, but we're going through success that she have had. She have traveled. She has went throughout the world and provided people with entrepreneurship, leadership skills, brought folks on that have been grateful to start their career, to do something that they didn't believe they can do. And folks, we gotta just think about any of your family members that you have ever had the opportunity to watch them excel to the next level. You got to take your hats off to them. You got to understand that in this lifeline of this legacy, we pass down generational memories that carry us along the way, stuff that leads us to understand why we get up every day. She got up every day, she performed, she traveled, she cared, she loved, she shared. And that's what we talk about today, that our sharing is not only for ourselves, but outwards, without outside the family and the community, and helping people grow. For we talk, you hear me talk about a lot of times that, we got to share and mentor folks so they can grow. Aunt Jackie did that. She mentored. People showed up from all over today to honor that, and we have proclamations. So as we think about this moment here, I'm reflecting on the time that I always seen her work hard, always seen her out there performing at her best, and always had a good determination of what was going to happen, what was going to do, and fighting a good fight. Folks, we see a lot of things happen in our world today and on our jobs and throughout life. And we got to ask the question, do we fight the good fight? Do we stand up and do the things necessary that means a lot to us? Do we take the time to thank people and give them the understanding of what the true legacy of what we're doing is, to lead them on to the next step of their life? When I sit back and I just go over years and years of doing this, it just reminds me of so many things that have happened that I see that inspired me to go to the next step of my next step of my life. And why did I do it? Because I seen people excel at it. I seen people give me the opportunity to say, whoa, this is what this is what it really means to work hard and perform and to leave that legacy. So when you get up and you perform, and I'm going to make it real plain, you perform at your best. I don't care what you're doing, how you doing it, what it may look like, and how it might happen. It just continues to grow. It continues to go forth, and people continue to understand that you serve a purpose out here in this world. You're doing things that are uncommon, but they are worthwhile. Why are they worthwhile? Why do we do what we do? Who's our mentors? Those are questions you have to ask yourself as you go out here and you start performing and working and have a goal set for who are we doing this for? Are we really doing it to build our legacy? Are we just doing it just because we have to do it? Thinking back to jobs I had, did I go in there and I perform it just to do it? Did I have a reason behind what I'm doing there? It's my legacy that leads me up to that. It's my role model skills that gives me the opportunity to just go perform at that level for it. And guess what? And you get excited about it because now you served a purpose. People see that you're worth and you're standing and you're happy and you're excited for what you have accomplished. We can go down accomplishments one by one, and we'll take this whole show up. But as I think about her traveling, I think about her mentorship and stuff, and it's just remarkable to know that you're in a family that shares that love outside the home as well. And you just look at the folks that happen to, and they can attribute their success to that legacy. And folks, it's a true honor. I'm a little speechless on a couple of things. Even naming a scholarship after her. How many folks can say that in their family? How many folks can say that their legacy is passed through a scholarship? That's a huge tribute to what somebody have done. What are you doing every day to make your life better so you can pass on that legacy? So not only your outsiders, but your family can see it. People outside your family can see it. Your co-workers, your neighbors can see that. What are we doing right now today? And ask yourself, what are we doing right now today to pass our legacy on? What are we doing to make it better so our next generations can be able to grow? My growth is that I want my family to grow in this real estate business. If I got to just pass it on to each one of them in that generation and they keep passing it on, guess what? I'm passing on something that's going to help my family extend to the next generation. And the next generation will have to understand, and they have to understand why we get there and why we do what we do. Why are we out here performing at this level that we perform at? So, folks, if you're out there and you're deciding what you're trying to do, make it worthwhile. Start having a thought process of that. Hey, this is my legacy right now. Whatever I'm doing right now is what is going to be intentional for me to pass down from generation to generation. We see a lot in our communities that we don't do that. We don't have that legacy that we're passing down. We can sit back and talk about all the bad stuff that happened in our family, but what about the good things? What about the things that we need to start talking about to get us to that next step, to continue to be proud? And guess what? It's just so amazing. Aunt Jackie went out there and she walked and she talked that talk. Are we talking the talk that we need to talk to be able to lead this generation or the next generation? We see a lot of folks that's out here that can't even find that generational legacy that's happening in there. They don't have that. They have broken the script of what's happening out there in the family. They don't have nothing to pass on but the bad stuff. They don't have nothing to pass on but things that happen to them. Let's put that stuff behind us, folks, because it's some good in everyone that we see in our family, regardless what it is. We're gonna have good times, we're gonna have bad times, we're gonna have accomplishments, we're gonna have failures. Ask yourself, am I prepared to pass through to the next generation a failure that led me to success? What led me and what failure that did I have that made me successful after I overcame it? For it. And don't think that failure is a bad and it's a negative connotation here. Failure is growth. It's growth that what you have out here to make you even better than you were before. We look at so many people that failed, and guess what? We look at them as a living monument or a living icon or someone that um, has made this accomplishment, and we don't see their failure. Everybody mentioned Michael Jordan, and he didn't make his high school team and all that, um, and go from there. So those type of things are important to our legacy, and guess what? We want to make them happen. In a few minutes, we're gonna bring on Mr. Dante, and he's gonna bring in what's his legacy is gonna be like for of his career and everything. But I had to take this minute to honor my Aunt Jackie. We love her, we adore her. We thank her for her legacy, her great life she lived, the stuff that she had passed on to the next generation, and we can see it growing, because you can see it when people outside the family talk about what's happening, folks. And as we bring Dante on, we gonna bring him on in so he can come and tell us about stuff. And welcome, Dante. We're talking about legacy. I'm honored right my Aunt Jackie, that left her legacy on. And we're gonna give you a chance to tell us what you're doing in your career, what you're doing with your nonprofit. So you're gonna pass that legacy on to the next generation, because that's what matters today. That's what's so important. That's what means the world out here for our community to grow and stuff. Dante, give us a little background about yourself right quick.
So, hey, how you doing? My name is Dante Jackson. I'm the founder of the Bridge Foundation, newly launched nonprofit that I have here in Kent County, where our mission is to focus on youth empowerment, where we're offering a curriculum that focuses on STEM, financial literacy, life skills, sports, and entrepreneurship for the youth. And we're just looking for those resources for the children and that time outside of school to fill that with education, curriculum, and opportunity for the youth. So, and then this year, I have the pleasure of piloting the after school program here in Campus Community School this
Nice.
spring, with the help of some faculty members and all as well. So, we're pretty excited about that.
And Dante, tell us what got you to that realm of want to start this nonprofit. I mean, you could have been out there being in upper management in some corporation, but you decided to say, yo, this is what I want to do right now, and give us some reasoning.
Um, I, I would say it's probably a few reasons. I do work for a big corporation. I am a property manager of an
Hmm.
apartment community. So, and I'm for my people. So, always working things out with the people, always doing events and giving back to the community. Um, always been a passion of mine. I'm the oldest of eight
Oh, wow.
children, so just always just having that big brother mentality. I have eight children myself.
Wow. Come on now.
Yeah, man. Uh, Ranging from 5 years old to soon to be 18 next month. So
Okay.
I'm walking the journey with everybody else as well, real time. So
Wow. And tell us, if I had to say, what legacy are you trying to leave for your kids so they can pass it on?
but the opportunity I'm trying to leave for my kids is, just give them that empowerment and just trying to show them that everybody has a purpose and they just need, whether it's through mentorship or whether it's just through any kind of guidance, that everybody has that purpose. And we just here to bring it to fruition for the youth.
Right, right. And that's great. We were just talking about, when we leaving our legacy, behind, it has to be intentional. It's got to be a purpose behind it,
Absolutely.
for it and stuff. And we know that your nonprofit out there, it's serving a lot of purpose now. And tell us what you're doing out there in the community a little bit that we can share with our audience.
Sheesh. It's a busy 2025. We've done book bag drives, free haircuts, free food for the community, clothing drives. Um, we built the free library exchange boxes in the communities. Um, and we really just been partnering with people to expand on the resources and how we can just get it out to the community and the youth and the schools. Um, I had we just also had a successful toy drive for Christmas as well, where my organization, we adopted 24 children.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I partnered with a bunch of sponsors, and we had the children create like wish lists of wants and needs,
Hmm.
and and we were able to make that happen for all the families. So that was real powerful as well.
Wow, 24 families you said, huh?
Yeah, yeah, it was
That's
awesome.
amazing for it and stuff. To reach out to have that. I mean, you got a big family yourself, as Miss Simone say,
Yeah.
and you still giving outside of that family. And
Oh yeah, absolutely.
for what's your motivation, you think, to do this?
The motivation is just knowing that the kids are lacking just that curriculum. So what I think my motivation is, you see what happens in communities that do have the resources,
Mhm.
that do have the before after school curriculums and activities going on. You see the success rate of those kids in and out of school.
Mhm.
Um, so once you see that all your community is lacking, is that lack of resource or that lack of connection. So if we could just mirror what they're doing successfully in other communities here, why not? And then there's a plethora of resources here that a lot of these kids and families just don't know about. So,
Mhm.
just trying to make sure that we are that outreach to make sure that they know about these resources and that we are connecting them to these resources as well.
Wow, wow, yeah, for it, and it's so important to see that our community need the resources to kind of grow, and our young people, Dante, it's fair to say that our young people, we struggle with finding that mentor or honing those skills that they need to figure out what they're going to do in life or where they want to be or what they want to succeed. How do you pull that out of them?
Repeat that question again.
Like, how do you pull the best out of those kids? A lot of folks might say, oh man, that's a bad kid, but we see something good in those kids when others see bad. So how you pull it out?
You meet them where they at.
Right.
It not a what we see that doesn't work is the authoritarian approach.
Mm,
So you got to be realistic with, do you want to get your point across or do you want with the point to work? There's a
right.
difference, you know what I mean? So we want it to work, and that's the most important, so however it gets across, as long as it is successful, and that takes, and I think that meeting the children where they are is what they are missing in the community, and that's why they don't have the mentors. A lot of the older people who could be mentors. If you're the youth and you hear, man, y'all generation is wild, y'all this, that, y'all
Right.
that, like, you can't necessarily, that can't be your mentor on the flip side of things either.
Right.
So you gotta be intentional with your mentorship. And then again, a lot of the motivation is where the success are. Like, 95% of Fortune 500 companies have a mentorship program.
Mm.
So that goes to show you the importance of mentorship. And yeah, we're just trying to mirror that, man.
Yeah, yeah, for it. And you said Fortune 500s have
Yeah,
mentorships, and look, we leave our young folks out here trying to figure it out by themselves, which causes a problem in our community.
yeah. I don't think we give them enough credit. The youth
Right.
is a lot more advanced, and I think we should give them way more credit than what we do. A lot of the things is holding them back. And I think, and I teach my kids, listen, you can do whatever you want and be whatever you want to be, but you can't just say it. You got to let them actually do it.
Mm.
Through guidance and all too. So, um, yeah, man,
So I mean, just working with them. I mean, it's got to be a extraordinary opportunity to sit down, and I mean, I guess you learn from them as well as they learn from you.
every
You know,
day.
for them. Somebody asked, how do you balance? It's They asked me, how do you balance guidance with letting the mentee find their own solutions? So
Accountability,
accountability.
100%. And you, just that ownership, just owning the good and the bad. And one thing that's important in my parenting that I also would translate in the mentor program is the decision making and how important that is. And I teach my kids every day about choices, and I make them deal with the good and the bad, and
Mm,
that builds the accountability. And they a lot of these kids speak highly on what they do wrong. They don't have a problem telling you what they do wrong,
mm-hmm,
um, and they think that's a form of accountability. And I don't believe that. One of those things. My kids, accountability is owning whatever that mistake is, with an action and a resolution attached with it.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, definitely accountability is how you do that.
And
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 and then you let them know that mistakes are lessons, and it's not the end, and it's okay.
mm,
We could fix a mistake all day.
right, for it and stuff. And that's good that you still empower them even after they can admit the mistake, which is great, which
Yeah.
is a sign of them growing. And I was just talking about that we have to continue to do this. And somebody said, how have you developed or considered any partnerships with police, fire, EMS, or military?
I actually did brainstorm an idea where I actually wanted to partner with the local Dover PD, because I definitely wanted to show a side of law enforcement where the children see that they do more than just arrest people.
Mm,
It's a lot more, and show the community side. And also, just to get them also a different approach to it as well, where you know in our neighborhoods, in our communities, we have issues with the law enforcement. But I also think that uh we have some fault in that as well. Like, a lot of these families say, hey, don't mess with the police, and don't do this, don't do that. And that keeps them away from getting into these rooms, becoming police officers and making changes and becoming any kind of law enforcement. So just encouraging that and showing them the positive side, and what they could be. You know what I mean?
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah. Somebody said, what techniques do you use to provide constructive feedback effectively?
Um, I use a holistic approach, man. Just understanding that, again, once you understand that, life is always going to be full of mistakes. As long as we learn it and we're growing from them, um, and actually learning and growing from them, not just saying sorry and just moving forward. But there's a lesson learned in there. Um, and again, just meeting them where they're at. You really gotta meet them where they're at for them to open up and have that comfort zone to even speak with you, and let you in on guiding them and mentoring them.
Right, right. Also consider the trauma units at the hospital, of what these young people are going through and how they're doing it and what's so important during this part, that they struggle with that a little bit,
Yeah,
for the stuff. And somebody said, how do you build trust and create a safe space for the mentees?
I'll repeat that again. It was a
Yeah.
little choppy.
How do you build the trust and create a safe space for the mentees that you mentoring?
You don't push, you don't force. You
Mm,
know, you you let them run the show in that regards to their emotions. You know, hey, you want to talk, and they'll let you know. You know, and then you always let them know that you're here and you ready to be that air when they want to and when
right,
they need
right.
you to be. So really just allowing them to be in control of their emotions and understanding the powers that they do have with their emotions. You know, they
Mhm,
actually got to go through it and see that they can get through it through conversation and through, and there is a healthy way of speaking your mind and dealing with conflict.
mhm, mhm. Yeah, for it, and that is so important to be able to have that healthy concept and healthy conversation with our young folks, that they're able to continue to grow from that. For because they start talking to you, Dante. They're just more transparent. you
Yeah,
know, and we know some of our young people, they tighten up around people they don't feel comfortable with.
100%.
And it's good that we're able to do that. And I always encourage folks that if this is going to happen, that's what needs to happen for this to be built up, to have that trust and that safe space for them. And also, how do we motivate and inspire them? Someone, and tell us this: how do you inspire and motivate someone who is struggling for the stuff? And we might have lost Mr. Dante for a minute there, but we're gonna keep moving. That we have to continue to inspire and motivate our young people that are struggling, because guess what? If we don't, they fall back on what they're comfortable with, what they've been doing, or what they have been doing, and guess what? It does no good. It puts a big damper in our space.
There we
Now,
go.
yeah, welcome back.
Slide
And
card audio.
and we was asking the question: how do you inspire and motivate someone who is struggling?
Can you hear me, dude?
Yeah, 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 yeah. I can hear you. Yeah, can you hear me?
I can't hear you.
Okay, okay.
Sorry.
Can you hear me now? Ford and stuff. Are you still able to hear? But we're talking about inspiration, um, and inspiring our young folks right now. For um, you know, for it. So, folks, and
Let me see.
we want to continue to remember that motivation and mentorship and passing on this legacy comes from inspiration. Do we struggle? Absolutely, we struggle every day. We fall short, but guess what? We continue to grow and continue to move forward. And guess what? We got um, and how do you do that? And Dante's going to go out and come back in, folks. But folks, we have to be, like you said, intentional with our young folks, so we can and this is about legacy here. This is about legacy, passing it on, incorporating the future of our young folks over and over and over again. And guess what? Making sure that we love them unconditionally, regardless of what state they in, of where they at, what they're doing in their lives. Love them so they'll continue to be inspired to do great things. And we don't hold it against them that if they fall short. if they do stuff that might not seem right now, because our whole goal is to mentor them and to get them to be able to pass that back on. And Dante looks like he's back with us.
I'm back.
Yeah, 4 and 7. Our question is, how do you inspire and motivate someone who is struggling? Some of those young folks.
How do you? I'm sorry, it was choppy.
How do
Again,
you inspire and motivate someone that is struggling? They have some struggles out there, our young folks, that they're struggling. How do you keep them motivated? How do you keep them engaged and ready to go to the next step?
mentorship. You show them real success. You show them how close real success is to them. So one of the approaches I want to take is introducing them to the entrepreneurs that we have right here in King County to show them how close success is. I know a lot of them, children want to be accepted. I think that's one of the biggest problems that they have is acceptance, and what their form of that is and what it looks like. Um, so just through the programs that we have, again, learning financial literacy, learning entrepreneurship at a young age, and again, keeping them really close and where they can touch real success and real entrepreneurs and real success stories.
And that's key. Success stories is the key to everybody got to feel a win. Everybody got to have a win. Everybody got to know what a win
Yeah,
feel like. I tell folks like this, Dante, if you ain't never won a game, you don't know the feeling of victory. And so,
100%.
how can you talk about being a champion if you don't have that opportunity to know what that feel like over and over and over again here? And that's what our kids need to have. Are they going to struggle with some things? Absolutely. But guess what? Let's keep giving them victories. Let's keep motivating them on so they can go out here and they can be so big in our communities and be assets. And we don't see them as liabilities. What are your core values as a mentor? What do you value the most being a mentor?
What I value the most, definitely trust and transparency. I think those two things are the two core values for my relationship building and rapport building with the youth.
Mm, mm. So the trust and the value and transparency. Why is transparency so important?
Transparency is important. I think it makes life easy. It eliminates drama, confusion. It eliminates a lot of the gray areas let's stick to black and white. Let's be transparent with, again, and also builds accountability, discipline, good decision making. So some key factors in being transparent, and like I said, the trust that they have within us and mentoring them. You got to
Wow.
be transparent.
Yeah. And folks, if you're older, you're younger, I don't care transparency has to be number one on your list when you're
Yeah,
dealing with anybody. If it's in business, if it's with our young people, if it's in family, outside in the workforce, transparency gives us the opportunity to have respect for one another as well,
yeah.
for it. And people can feel that respect as we continue to go forward. And Dante, somebody asked, what do you enjoy most about helping others grow? I mean, what's the good part about that for you?
The biggest joy is when they do find their success, and when they do find those little victories, and the little small thing that they do every single day. Learning, whether it's getting higher grades, learning a new life skill, which we plan to focus on a lot. Whether it's fishing, whether it's riding a bike, whether it's being a mentor themselves. Um, so just them finding their purpose is the biggest joy for sure.
Hmm. And guess what? That is so important. That means so much out here for folks when we see people grow. I was talking about last week, Dante. My biggest aspiration is that when I see people growing, I see people getting to that next level. That feels good. Because
Absolutely.
that you played a part in their growth. And guess what? They're gonna go ahead and feel that inspiration from time to come over and over again. And if we don't see that, if we don't feel that, we can never build our society or our community up in what we're doing. You know,
I
for
agree.
we see it every day that we kick people down. People get kicked down, stepped on, stomped over and over, and guess what? They got to get up, they got to find a way, and then they probably won't want to go that way again because they felt that it was a struggle what they were going through, but that they have to change that mindset. So I tell folks, only time you looking down on somebody if you picking them up, and and that's and that's how we want to
Yeah.
get it going. And Dante, tell me something with your mentorship program. If somebody wanted to connect and say, hey, I want to come in and I want to try to join that mentorship program, how would they get in contact with you?
So they can visit the website at www.tbfde, which are the initials for the Bridge Foundation Delaware.org
And
forward
that's
slash.
CBF.
Yep, it's a Bridge Foundation DE. But again, it's initials tbfde.org forward slash the Bridge Foundation DE.
Grace Foundation DE.
Yes.
Okay.
Also on Instagram at the underscore bridge underscore foundation underscore DE.
Bridge underscore foundation
Underscore DE.
underscore DE. And folks, we're going to see that coming across. You see some young folks out there looking for a mentor, looking to grow, looking to get to the next step, get to the next level. For it, we're passing on legacies here. We're building our community. Dante's taking the time to make sure that these folks and our young folks have that understanding what it is to build a legacy, understanding what it is to grow out here and build it up. And guess what? And Dante, are you born and raised Dover?
Nah, I'm actually I was born and raised in West Philadelphia, and I've been
Look
in
at that.
Delaware for the last 10 years.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
and my
And
upbringing was rough. Going through the same issues that these kids go through. One parent household, struggling mother, um, run-ins with the law myself, siblings, the household split, then coming back together, um, missing school, truancy, just dealing with all of that and just, just digging deep within myself to see the holes that I was missing and, just matching that with what they're going through and like, okay, yeah, I know what that feels like. So how can we fill that space?
mhm. Tell me what that felt like, Dante. So some of our folks, they probably never been in that type of society. I grew up in New York, you grew up in West
Yeah.
Philly, so we know in those bigger suburban in those bigger areas that we face a lot of different struggles than you see right here in the local Dover.
Yeah. Just with the everyday crime rate, it's super high. Growing up in West Philadelphia, had one of the highest murder rates within the city. Going to school every day, going through metal detectors, getting wind down by police officers, just having an actual jail cell in the school. Those things, man, they make you numb to, the prison systems and a lot of those other issues. Also, at one point in time, living in shelters with my mom, um,
Mm,
and sometimes not having my mom around,
mm,
and finding out later that they were for like street reasons or whatever. But you feel isolated, you feel alienated, so I have like real tangible attachments to these kids and their emotions and how they, because you deal with them all your life, it's just how you manage to do, how you manage them. And I'd rather you use them as motivation than excuses and, pity.
mm-hmm, yeah, and stuff that's so good. Do you think, Dante, if you didn't grow up in that struggle, would you understand that struggle?
Not as clear and as close as I do, no.
Mhm. Right, right. For
Yeah, I think you absolutely have to go through those situations to have
to
that to
know
have a real connection.
absolutely for 'cause you can't have something, and I tell folks, that some people want to mentor, but they never been in that atmosphere. And I'm not saying that they can't be good mentors. Don't get me wrong. They can, but when somebody like yourself, myself, somebody that's been out there in the community that went through the struggle, they're more inclined to know how to deal with it, to pass it on to somebody else so they can better themselves out here in this community. That they don't fight that feeling of idolization. This guy, he's just doing this as a job. He's just trying to make money or
Right,
something
right.
like that. And we're really out there being, yo, bro, I know what you're going through. My whole story was like that, and went down that line. And I tell people, poverty is a real thing. you know
100%.
poverty. You talk about the shelters. Some people ain't never slept on the floor before, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And stuff. And that's what I tell them. I like, they never slept on the floor. They never had to wonder where that next meal coming from, or if they like what was coming. And they're like, why you just don't eat what I give you? Because
Right.
you know this is what it is. And for it, and keep to do that. But most of all, Dante, this comes from loving people because somebody else won't do it. Somebody
Yes.
else failed to do it. And when they fail to do it, they get to the point of not understanding what really happened in that whole mode, for it and stuff. And tell me this, Dante, what inspired you to really find your calling to do this?
I've done this my whole life. Being the oldest of eight, and then having, like I said, a big family myself. Um, but then just seeing the kids struggle and how, I mean, they mirror my struggles as a kid.
Mm,
So, me changing myself is like, hey, I know what it feels like to change within those shoes. So I gotta at least show you, giving,
mhm.
and then just giving back to the community is super important. And again, the mentorship is proven that it's extremely successful.
Yeah,
Whether
for
it's in schools, in a professional setting, no matter where you put it. So that's what we're gonna do.
yeah, for it and stuff. And that's so, man. And you've been you're the oldest of eight.
Yeah,
So you've been mentoring since you was growing
five
up.
brothers and two sisters.
Wow,
Yep.
wow, for this stuff. What was that like, Dante? Knowing that you're the big guy and you got to kind of guide them through some of these obstacles.
It was actually cool. Me and my siblings, we still talk on a daily basis. All of
Mhm,
us. One is passed away, but the rest of us we talk on a regular. My nieces and nephews are like my kids, and vice versa to all my brothers and sisters. But just always having to lead by example in some way, shape, or form.
mhm, mhm.
That has been a consistent throughout my life. I have made some bad decisions, like I said. I've had
We all have.
I've took some L's,
Hmm.
but just my process on just when I was in a depression, just rebranding myself and just building on that accountability, that discipline, that those things work.
Hmm.
So
And
no, go ahead.
what do you think's your biggest accomplishment you feel, as of today?
My biggest accomplishment,
Yeah,
you
something.
know, me being a father.
Mhm,
All of my kids are decent students,
mhm,
all in sports or have some form of creative arts going on.
mhm,
None are in the streets. Knock on wood. Nobody's growing up too fast over here.
mhm.
And, just a little minor things, just all of them from the 5-year-old on up. Everybody can swim, everybody can ride a bike, everybody can count money.
Right.
We take trips, we're exposed to more, just exposing them to all different facets of life. So, I think
Yeah,
that's my biggest
man,
success for
man,
sure.
I think that's a great accomplishment because being able to talk to your siblings daily. Some people don't even talk to their siblings, and
Yeah,
they next door. How do you go about living that life, not speaking, carrying those angers, and you when life's too short. You know,
yeah,
that's a great accomplishment to me, and I'm big on small things. When
absolutely.
those small things right there mean a whole lot. You talking about your kids are active in sports and stuff, and you're present and stuff like that. That's a big thing. I had to learn that coming up when I was raising my kids, and one of my failures, and I can share this, was I always worked more than I spent the time. So when I lost the time, I never got it back. And guess what? It was a failure to me that I learned now that, hey, that time is so important now. If I have to spend it with them, if I have to spend it with my wife, if I have to spend it, I got a little 12-year-old, I love him. If I got to spend that time with him, that I got to spend that time. I got to make it valuable. I got to make it worthy for it. Because guess what? Like I was talking about, that builds our legacy right there. Because
Yes.
guess what your kids gonna remember, Dante? My daddy was out here.
Yeah,
My daddy
yeah,
seen me swim this whole pool. My daddy seen me run that football field. My daddy seen me perform in that play and stuff. And guess what? Some kids can't even say that. So
you're right.
those are great accomplishments that we have, and folks, we got to have it in our community, in our homes, to build our legacy. This is legacy right now, and our legacy is only what we do today. It starts what we do today. I don't care what happened before and everything, but start building it up, start talking about it, and give that concentration to it. Reach out to Dante, as you see the Instagram and the website come across the screen, reach out, because guess what? We're going to learn something from that. He's going to help us with our young folks that we probably having problems with, for where you can say, Dante, I'm having a problem with this kid, he really don't get it. And he's going to provide you with some insight, because he said something about authoritarianism today, and being authoritative in another state. Kids don't really dig into that. That kills their relationship with the parents. And Dante, tell me, you might say to your kids, hey, I need you to go out there and pick this up and stuff, but most of the time you provide some kind of reasoning behind it.
Yeah, absolutely. And definitely, and my kids, I have 4 boys and 4 girls. So,
Mm,
with the boys, I used to lead with the authoritarian style of fathering boys, and it wasn't working. In trouble in school, no communication with me. No, it was more, they hide from dad. Dad is just a disciplinarian, and that wasn't comforting for me. So then when I took a step back and then allow them to talk more, me listening more, um, allowing them to be themselves, and just again being accountable and giving them responsibilities. All of those things, they just cultivate some real strong-minded, strong-willed individuals
mhm.
early.
And that's what's important. And folks, I'm so big on that I'm gonna start having our young folks on this podcast, so they can tell us some things. They can teach us some things that we see happening out there. And guess what? They don't mean no harm. Folks, if you think the kids just want to run a ruckus their way, that's not what this is. They want to be valued. And sometimes their opinion values a whole lot. It means the world to them, of when we go and showcase them and we give them the opportunity to do some things that stand out. I want to have some of my family members, that the young folks, come on and just talk about some things that they love, why they love it, why they doing what they doing, and passing on that legacy. Man, and Dante, man, I want to thank you so much for taking that time to even come on and kind of share that vision with us, because somebody out here probably just gonna change their life off of this right now, and start thinking about how they treat their kids, or what they inspire them to do, how they inspire them to do what they do for it and everything. But if you had one concept you had to give to parents right now, what would you tell
Listen to your children.
them?
Listen, I'm serious. You got to meet them where they at. Like we talked about the authoritarian style. They are showing us that they are resistant against it. So meeting them where they at and listening to them. Because I'm gonna help you manage your life. And that's for me. Like I want my kids to live their lives being confident in making decisions, being confident in dealing with conflict, and being highly successful in problem resolution. So listening to them and helping them grow within themselves and who they are, and not trying to get them to be what I want them to be. I'm not picking careers. I'm not picking
Mm.
grades. I'm picking, so like those kind of things. I'm choosing you being the best you, whatever that is.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, and folks, I'm, as I said before, you know, um, listen to what's happening out here. Build that legacy, build that career that leads to the next step here. We honor our loved ones. We lead a legacy. And I'm gonna end on this note. Ma and Jackie left a legacy. I'm excited. We got to be excited for her. She empowered people. She loved folks. She passed that on. And guess what? It just continues to grow over and over and over again. And guess what? We're able to see that, even though she's asleep right now, resting, um, and people still can go back and think about the stuff they have learned. Folks, like Dante's doing, these kids gonna remember him of stuff that they have learned that got them to the next level, when he has to go on, and they can say, yo, Mr. Jackson made me the man I am today, or made me a better woman, and taught me how to value myself and what we do out here in this community. But folks, man, another great episode. This is Legacy Month right now. We're going to talk about mentorship. We're going to talk about leaving legacies, building people up for it, and getting them going. This creative financing with JB. Thank you so much, Dante. We appreciate you. And we ain't done. We're going to have some of your students come on here and
yes,
give us a little shout out, so we can go ahead and uplift our young people and get it going. But folks, until next week, we thank you for tuning in. We appreciate everything y'all have done, and lift up the kids. Parents, listen to your children. And guess what? One last shout out to Aunt Jackie. Rest in peace. We love you. We out here gonna let this legacy live forever. And y'all have a great evening.
thanks for having me, man.